Hi, good afternoon. Thank you. I know I'm fighting two big enemies. One is food coma, we all have that, and second is jet lag, so please bear with me. I'll try to make this precise, concise, and hopefully interesting to you all. My name is Aki. I am from Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Very, very happy to be here. Thank you to Dr. Hun Shin, who's not in the room at the moment, but thank you to him. Okay, entrepreneurs. That's when we ask our students, who are entrepreneurs? What are entrepreneurs? These are the names that they come up. And yes, of course, they are entrepreneurs. These are the people who actually change the world. They make a lot of impact in different ways, for better or worse. But that is not the reason why we think everyone should be an entrepreneur. And I'll explain to that why later. Let's take a look. This is Hong Kong in 1950s. And this is Hong Kong today. The rest of the world is not immune to complex political, social, economic, environmental issues. Social unrest, wars, refugee issues, climate change, pollution, misuse of technologies. These are very much our reality. I think that's one of the reasons why we all gather together and thinking that how can we be part of the solutions. But these complex issues will continue to be the reality of our next generation, if not worse, that they're facing. On the left-hand side is how we used to teach our students back in 1950s again, just to make a fair comparison. On top is fast-forwarding to today, 70 years later. This is how we prepare primary school students and university students. I think clearly we see a gap of how we prepare our students to face their reality, their future. And I think one possible piece to help bridge that gap, or the missing middle, as Rubina said it, is entrepreneurship. And there's a flood of books in this genre for the past few years or last decade. But that book cover, at least the cover that speaks mostly to us, is this book by Dory Clark, Entrepreneurial You. And I'll come back to this book in a little bit. Sorry, I thought it's going to be animated, so that's hence the overlay. So we think entrepreneurs are bosses of businesses. That's common understanding. But we want to push that boundary, push that definition into entrepreneurs are bosses of themselves. That's why we want to introduce our students, this idea to students that you don't have to own a business, but you have to own your own development. You have to own your own career, whether it's in academic or professionally speaking. That's why we have a common core course called Entr 101. The title is exactly Building Your Own Future. We don't have that layout for you. You have to build that. To give a little bit more context, I work closely with Professor Ern Huang here at UST to provide entrepreneurship education to undergraduate. The reason why is most of the entrepreneurship courses is offered at, say, at the MBA level, or at least a higher level courses, mainly catering to business school students or related majors. But this common core will bring it down to undergraduate level, open to all majors, all ages, people from all backgrounds. Reason being, we want to introduce this idea to them while they can still change their trajectory. Oh, I want to be a biologist, but maybe I could do something within that career realm and we could make some change within that. So that's why we want to introduce this idea to them, plant a little seed and see where it will go. Here's a breakdown of our this semester. We're flying back on Thursday, and Friday we'll be facing our students again. But this is our student profile. As you can see, we have a good mix of year 1, 2, 3, and 4. We did some study to our students as well, asking them, when do you think is the best time to take this course if you could rewind time, knowing what you know now? And they all said year 2. Well, most of them said year 2. Some of them said, I don't want to take it ever again. But year 2. Why is that, we ask? Year 1, they just graduated from high school. They didn't know any better. They didn't even know how to get to the classroom. So let's not talk about entrepreneurship. That's too much. Year 3 and 4, understandably, they're focusing on internship, job even. So year 2 is the prime time, and I think we capture a good portion of them. Major, as I mentioned, a lot of it, I think by the course title is easy for them to attract business students. But we do have a good mix of engineering students, science, humanities, interdisciplinary program students. Having that said, diversity is what we aim for. Diversity is what we aim for, and we designed this course for that. Again, this is supposed to be animation, apologize for that. When I introduce this course to people, oftentimes we get to ask one question: how do you teach entrepreneurship? It sounds like an oxymoron. You're trying to tell people to innovate, to own themselves, but you're telling them what to do. That's why the emphasis is not on teaching. It's not how we teach them, it's how they learn. So we changed the emphasis from the very beginning, is how we can help them learn. I wanted to fast forward to, sorry, I made some changes, so I do want to show you one page without, hopefully, yes, and spoiling all the other pages. So this is our course outline. Very messy, as you can see. But we do have a very general breakdown. On top is before midterm, and this is between midterm and final, and this is as time progresses. Their midterm, instead of a paper or an exam, they actually have to run an online shop. Yes, a real online shop that they sell stuff. They become an entrepreneur. Second half of the course, after midterm, which is right around this time, they start learning about design thinking and applying it on solving a social issue. Because Erwin and I also from a social enterprise background, we kind of selfishly push that agenda a little bit. So we should also learn that. That's why we have that on the second part. So let me go back to here. These are two examples of our current class students. One is selling pet food and snacks on the left-hand side. The other one is selling snacks from overseas. And I think they told us the bestseller is the Korean instant rice with seasoning. People in Hong Kong obviously craving for that. So this is actually their shop, running a real business, dealing with real customers with real money. And because we haven't started our second half of the semester, this is from previous class, their final project, instead of a paper, they're actually curating a Kickstarter page, a crowdfunding page, one click away from launching. So if they decide to actually make this a reality, they can. But we force them all the way until they have to make that jump, then it's their call whether they want to do that, make that jump or not. The topic of this is carer for the elderly, not the elderly themselves. And we designed this on purpose because oftentimes they jump right back to the solution, jump right at the solution. I know the solution, there's an app. If you work with students, all of them have a solution that is related to an app or some sort of online tools. But by using design thinking, we force them to really understand who are they serving. For example, on the left-hand side is Silver Map. They are trying to create a map for wheelchair users in Hong Kong. A lot of the places are not accessible, and there's a real need to it. And this one is a device that helps people to lift their client or patients or their family member off the bed or chair. We didn't tell them the solution, but we asked them to really see what is the problem. Oh, speaking of design thinking, I brought this up just because, well, first I needed coffee, but also when I got it, I was wondering what is this little dent for? And I kept thinking about it for a while until I turned it around and mindlessly sipping coffee and spilled all over my clothes. And I said, it's designed so that I'll turn it away from me so that it could show this branding. So good job to this company. Having that said, I think it's very similar what we're trying to do as the cup. We're trying to change students' behavior, motivate them to start taking action, but subtly, so they don't feel like I was told to do this. I'm doing this because I was told to do this. But instead, I'm doing this because this is important to me. I think throughout today's presentation, I've heard a lot of you could understand and agree that skill set is really important. Financial management, how to be a self-advocate person, how to really navigate the system, or understanding the impact that we're creating in the community. But we argue mindset is just as important, if not more. Skills is something can be driven once you have the growth mindset. Once you feel like you could learn something, you need to learn something. That's something you can continue to acquire throughout your life. which we all should strive for. But mindset, we want to change that when it's still malleable. We don't want students to think, this is all I learned, my major is biology, so I'll be a biologist, and that's it. So how do we do that? Each week we have 2 sessions. One is on Wednesday, one is on Friday. Wednesday is workshops. So we'll be having a little bit of time like now where I talk with you, or we have speakers to talk with you, introduce a new concept. But within very short of time within the class, we ask you to use that concept right away. On the shop or on the Kickstarter page or project, use it right away. And I'll explain why in a little bit. Friday is more fun, where we invite speakers, real-life entrepreneurs. Actually, Stephen Lam from GoGoVan came to our course to explain or share his journey. These speaking or these discussions is not on how you start your business, or it's not on what is the secret ingredient to your success, but more on a personal journey. Do you ever have self-doubt? How do you overcome that? What is the biggest challenge you've had? How do you balance or not balance family and work? Things like that you simply can't Google or search. We have that intimate conversation with these entrepreneurs, and we ask students to reflect. We ask them to reflect on Facebook for 2 main reasons. One is to promote peer learning. As you can see, we usually have a video about the speaker, and students will comment the reflection underneath. Same here. And one is for peer learning. Now I know what Colleen is thinking from this speech. Maybe something very, very different than my takeaway. 2 is this way, we continue to engage the speakers. The speaker will reply to them. So that could further into 2 things. Internship. So that's how we encourage students to take advantage, take internship. Second is what we wanted the most is promote mentorship. But that relationship doesn't happen in class or within one class. But we want to plant that little seed to let them to do that if they want to. Okay. Oh, another highlight. We'll take our students to Shenzhen as if we don't have enough for them to do. We said, let's go to Shenzhen and take a look. Because Shenzhen is the Silicon Valley of hardware and also has the highest GDP among the world, not only in China. And it's right next to our border. There's no reason why we don't get to use this opportunity to get to understand what Shenzhen is doing. They're copying everything, but they're also innovating so much. How do these 2 really co-live or cohabit in the same city? So we take them and we ask them to really visualize what it's like, especially for the Kickstarter project. Because a lot of the time, Kickstarter project fail, not because they didn't raise enough money, but because they have raised enough money, but they don't know how to deal with the manufacturer. So this is where we take them and introduce them to that idea. So back to the question is, how do we teach students into becoming an entrepreneur? We don't. We let them be one. This is the only way we think is the most impactful way human can learn is by doing, is by trying and failing. Professor Han and I think that we are a curator rather than teachers or instructors. We want to create an environment where failure is the norm. Failure is totally normal and is celebrated. Because many of the speakers mentioned that presents opportunities, that also allows you to think harder, be smarter. Not trying is not acceptable though. Plan, I had a dotted line. We do need a plan, but just planning and not acting is not going to yield any results. So we emphasize on action. We want to blur the line between the classroom and the real world as much as possible. That's really the environment we want to create. We want to bridge that gap where they can translate the skills, the attitude, the mindset that they develop in this course into their own future. Okay, having that said, in gray is some of the comments we get that we're kind of like, yeah, sorry about that, but this is a 10-credit course. This is not a 3-credit course. The workload is so insane. We have to run a shop in half a semester and Kickstarter page for the other half of the semester. That's crazy. And the instructions are vague because they would ask us, what should we do? And then we'll be like, you decide. It's your business. But we also have comments that really motivates us to continue on, that in this course we focus on learning rather than grades. And as entrepreneurs, we have to design and assign tasks to ourselves to move the project or business forward. And this is reality. When you're an entrepreneur, no one's going to tell you what you're going to do. No one's going to tell you how you're going to do it. I think that self-initiating part is really ingrained in what we're trying to do. Supposedly, you don't see this part, so try to cover it. So the book cover I mentioned earlier, Entrepreneurial You as a person. We want to encourage students to become entrepreneurial. But another part is Entrepreneurial You as in university. In this changing world, we, as in Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, really think it's inevitable that university's role is changing as well. How can we prepare our students for their future, not ours, but theirs? This is a question we always trying to ask and answer with entrepreneurship. And this is Hong Kong UST and Missing the Technology, but it's a beautiful campus. We hope that next time when you visit, please let us know. We're happy to take you on for a tour and for a nice lunch, just like Hun did for us. As teachers, we have to be entrepreneurial as well. This is really how we can show our students that it's possible, rather than tell them that's possible. Just like the bicycle analogy that Mike shared earlier, we can tell all the theories that we can, but if we don't do it with them, it doesn't really mean much. And that's it. Thank you.